210-963-5795. Mention this radio ad.
Crystal, people are still signing in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When as they're signing up, you can break them in groups, or you're gonna need
Yes,
time?
that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Mr. V, can you hear me?
Mr. Paloma, I can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
We're gonna
sir.
start in about
Thank
2
you for
minutes.
joining us.
All right, thank you.
Crystal, we are ready to go. Okay.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Today's our safety meeting. Today is May the 13th, and it's 11:05. We will start our safety meeting. as we highlighted on Tuesday about the hijack bust that happened last Thursday on May the 6th in South Carolina. And so we're going to go this into more detail. The other thing I'm going to tell you is that we're going to go into breakout session rooms. So we're going to have about 5 groups. They're going to go into breakout. So Crystal's lining all that up. So when we will discuss the situation about the hijack bus, there's some questions that we're going to have on the screen and you will be discussing. And before we review the video again, so we can remind you of what happened in the situation that happened last week. And so I want to welcome Mr. Figueroa and Mr. Chief Palomo. So just so you know, they're in the Zoom meeting. So we have our department involved in this. Mr. Figueroa, you want to say anything?
Sure. Thank you for having us. And we've invited Chief Palomo to also present some guidance from the law enforcement side of things. We did touch on this incident earlier this week at our Tuesday meeting, but we wanted to go a little bit more in depth to discuss what options, what are additional trainings that we need to look at moving forward, and then kind of present you in the same situation so you can begin to kind of visualize and go through the mental exercise of what would we do in the event of this happened to me? What are my options? Where am I at? Where are my locations? If I have to evacuate the bus, am I familiar with that procedure? All these different scenarios. It's a great idea. And I know that we talked about doing this. I know right now we're still doing the Zoom meetings, but as we move forward and come to a more normal sense of doing things, since normal way of doing things again, then we will be coming back with the face-to-face and also offer some opportunities for recommendations on what type of training you feel you guys need. I know that it's a long year and there's tons of scenarios that can happen, but it usually takes an issue like this for us to reevaluate, okay, if this were to happen in our area, how do we handle this? How do we want you guys to handle that? And we want to make sure you're prepared, not only physically, but mentally. You have to know the biggest piece in what we talked about on Tuesday is maintaining composure, because your students are going to feed off of your vibe. And we want to make sure that if you're feeling, if you can handle the situation and the stress, that's one less issue you're going to have to worry about with the students. So I'm glad that you were able to have this for you. And thank you, Chief Palomo, for joining us. I don't know if you want to say a few words, sir.
Yes, sir. I just want to piggyback what you said is I think this is a great starting point. I was in a meeting, I want to say last week, the district safety committee where Mr. DeMaio presented. He talked about some of the things that our bus drivers are doing. First of all, let me just thank you for doing what you do for our kids. That's a tremendous job that you guys do. It's not an easy job, but I think going forward, there needs to be some discussion about, okay, how do we best equip our drivers? What are some of the best practices to keep our bus drivers safe and our kiddos safe? These type of events that happen in South Carolina, they're very dynamic. They happen quick. So end of the day, we don't want you to be heroes. We want you to make sure you take care of those kids and yourself. So we're going to be I talked to Mr. Fig. We're going to be working on developing maybe some emergency evacuation plans for our bus drivers, just kind of like we do for our schools. And we have those drills. So that'll be going on during the summer. So hopefully when we come back in the fall, you will have some tools for that toolbox. So in the event that something like this happens, you'll be prepared. And I think the key is the training piece and education to make sure that we give you all the tools that we can so you can keep yourself safe and our kids safe. Thank you, Mr. Figueroa.
Thank you, Chief Palomo. Okay, we're going to go ahead and review the video, and then Crystal's going to post some questions that as we break up in the group, and then we'll have that discussion, and then we'll break out into sessions. And the sessions will be about 10 minutes. And so everybody will have a chance to talk in the group. And then we're going to all come back and discuss it as a whole. And just so you know, Mr. Figueroa and Chief will probably be popping in different groups. So don't be surprised if they come in your conversation. So that's what they're going to do. And they're going to hear the session. So we're going to go ahead and start the video, and then we'll break out in the group sessions.
Mr. Tamayo, one thing to add is when we have these breakout groups, this is the opportunity for you folks to learn from each other. We want you guys leading the discussion. So there's going to be some questions presented after the video of what we want you guys to address. Please stick to those questions. And veterans, you can learn from you guys can learn from each other. You can teach and model for the younger drivers as well, and present, best case scenarios. What are those practices that you've been trained on along the years that might come into play here? Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and be showing the video now.
It just came in to us right now. A U.S. Army trainee has been charged with 19 counts of kidnapping after he allegedly hijacked a school bus full of children in Columbia, South Carolina. We brought you that news conference yesterday right here on News Now from Fox. Now the Richland County Sheriff's Department has released the video of the incident, and you're seeing it right here. We are going to listen to just some of that right now on News Now from Fox.
Come on!
All right, what a incredible, crazy, and scary incident right there. The video shows security footage of the incident. The Fort Jackson trainee, identified as 23-year-old Jovan Collazo, is seen armed with a rifle, ordering the bus driver to close the doors and drive. The Sheriff's Department said law enforcement was alerted to reports that Collazo, who is originally from New Jersey, had left Fort Jackson with a rifle early Thursday morning. After traveling a short distance, the bus came to a stop where the bus driver and all the students got out, none of them injured. The Richland County Sheriff said Collazo let the 18 children and driver off after getting frustrated when the students started asking questions. Again, Collazo has been charged with 19 counts of kidnapping, armed robbery, carjacking, and a use of a weapon during a violent crime. As of this time, no word yet on the motive there, but a scary, scary situation for all of those that were on board, and luckily, no one was injured there in that incident. We continue to go on right here on News Now from Fox.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stop sharing here. Can you see the, okay, so what we're gonna do at this point is, so we reviewed again the video that we had seen previously. And now we're gonna go ahead and break up into the discussion rooms. And these are the questions that we want you to be focused on when you go out into these breakout rooms. Chrissy, you want me to share the questions with them?
So one of the questions.
Unmute yourself.
Okay, guys, so one of the questions that we're going to be talking about is, what did the driver do that was right? Think about what he did that was a good thing, okay? And the second one would be, what could have been done to avoid this situation? What would you do? How would you, as a driver, take care of this situation?
Do you put us in the rooms?
Crystal, are we breaking out? I think she's still making adjustments, Gene.
Y'all are gonna start getting little boxes that say, we are gonna join a breakout room. Just make sure to click join.
And make sure you hit join on, if you're still on here, you should be able to hit join and it'll take you to your room.
Rose, are you there?
Miss Jen,
Hey,
am I in the right room?
no, you should have gone into a breakout room.
How do I do that?
You were asked to join one. Did you get that little box?
No.
Okay,
No.
well, we can have our own little meeting.
Well, I'm Ubering, so I'm just riding around.
Okay, so what did the driver do right, do you think?
He stayed calm.
That is correct. I would not have.
What? Miss Jen, I can't see you get rowdy.
Oh, I can surprise you. So what do we think could have been done to avoid the person getting on the bus?
He should have been more observant, I guess is the word, of his surroundings when he pulled up to that bus stop. And he could have closed the door on him. But then again, he had a gun. So even if he were to close the door on him, I'm sure that would have upset that guy even more.
That was my thinking. If the door would have been closed when he got there, he might have pointed the gun at the driver anyway and forced his way in.
Yeah. So either way, you're kind of like damned if you do.
So if this would have been you, how do you think you would have handled it?
I think I would have been calm and just followed everything he said. But I think I would have asked him to just take the bus, just let us off. I think me, my dumb self, I would have probably done that.
Yeah, I think with the sheer amount of questions that the kids were asking him, that was enough to get the driver to realize what was happening, which is why he kicked everybody off. So,
Ms. Powell, this is Chief. Can I add something to that?
hey, yeah, Mr. Palomo, what's up?
Yeah, so I mentioned I don't know if somebody mentioned it, but yes, you have to be aware of your surroundings. We call that situational awareness, whether you're at HEB or going to Walmart or just going to shopping, you always have to be aware of your surroundings. And I always tell people, trust your gut. Go with that instinct. If you feel like something's not right, whether you're out there on a route, you're coming up on a bus stop, and you see maybe a suspicious person that doesn't look right, I would recommend that you call the PD and let us look into it. We would rather have you guys err on the side of caution than get somebody hurt. So always be aware of your surroundings. Be very observant.
Yes, sir. I know sometimes it's hard when you're in there and you're counting kids and you're checking kids. So I could understand where a bus driver could unfortunately think that that would be the last thing that could happen to them in the morning, but it is a possibility. So
absolutely, we're living in some crazy times. There's some crazy folks out there, so you really got to be aware of your surroundings. First and foremost, you want to take care of the kids and then yourself.
Yes, sir. Yeah, one of the drivers brought up on Tuesday's meeting that what you could do is when you see the last student get on, the first thing you could do is to absolutely close the door. And then if another student comes after that, then you can reopen the door, but at least you have that glass barrier to start with.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
But I mean, we didn't have any outside views, so we don't know if he was hiding or what, but yeah, right. I mean, you just don't know. And luckily, that's why a situation like this is available for us to train. So,
and that's the key, the training piece. All right. Because when you train, you fight the way you train. So if you don't train, you're not going to know what to do. So I think it's imperative for us to really come up with some good training plans for our bus drivers to make sure they understand that when this happens, they know exactly what to do. Because these things are very dynamic and they happen very quickly.
Yes, sir. A question that I was thinking about when it happened, when I saw it on the video, was what would the driver have done if the hijacker would have forced him off the bus and made the kids stay on the bus? Would you have tried to stay with your kids? Jackie, would you have tried to stay with your kids?
Yes, there's no way I'm getting off that bus without my kids. No way. I'll tie myself down to the back or I'll throw myself on the floor, but yeah, he'd have to kill me to get me off.
Yeah, it's a good thing that he threw everybody off the bus, because that could have been so much worse. So
I wish I'm so surprised though that they didn't have the outside view cameras, like, because I mean on all the new buses, and that's a new bus, they have the camera to where they can see everywhere, like the back of the bus, the side of the bus.
right.
So I'm so surprised they didn't release those cameras.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they had a limited amount of time that the news session could show it, but I guess that's the one that they were provided. So it would be interesting to see what happened on the outside of the bus, to see what exactly the situation was with that man, because I don't know if any kid would have seen him coming. I don't know why they wouldn't have warned the driver. So,
Yep.
so he must have really surprised everybody. Olga's saying she would have ran him over if she had to.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, but our bus is, she's gonna run him over and he's just gonna fall in the front. That's it, unless you get him with the tire.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, the gentleman seemed like a extremely calm individual, and he did it right. I could see where that would be very hard to be calm when someone's pointing a rifle at you. There's Mr. Porfidio. Oscar, are you there?
Mr. Bettis.
It's just me and Jackie. We're just chilling.
And Robert and Mr. Bettis and Oscar.
I know I can't find Robert though. And Mr. Perez just got on. Oh, and there he went. Yeah, Crystal was telling me that the driver wound up throwing everybody off because the kids just kept berating him with questions.
Something like that. I believe that's what we saw, something like this, or making the bus go back and forth as sharp as you can.
Yeah, they pretty much did every single meme that they've ever done about a bus driver came out on that video. It was like, what happens when the bus driver gets off the, how does the bus driver get off the bus? You see the guy trying to get off the bus, the hijacker get off the bus, and he's like all being closed in by the doors. And, it's like.
The kids are like, wait, we have questions.
If you just step on it as hard as you can.
Yeah, everything that we've pretty much like ever said came out in this crazy video. So just shows like how much we as drivers really have to do to keep our cool, to keep from throwing the kids off the bus. Okay, I think we're pretty much ready to bring everybody back from their room. So let me give them a 60-second warning.
Yeah, nobody was in my room, so I just came out into the general area, and Jackie was
That's good.
still in here.
It worked out because I know that there were some people that didn't get to go into a room. So, all right, let me see if I can bring this.
I couldn't get through to. Oh, there's Miss Renata.
The good thing is that it's all on live and it's all on recording. So anybody who doesn't get to share, they'll get to review the other stuff. So
okay.
Let me close this out and see if all breakout rooms are closed in 60 seconds and participants will come back.
53, you want to count down? There you go. All right, guys. If you can think of anything, let me know. If you got any ideas, so let's know.
Okay, yeah, they're all coming back in.
Whose vehicle are we looking at that has a little bus pillow in the back? Is that Jackie?
That's Jackie.
That's a great pillow, man. That's nice.
Crystal, how long does a session take to come back into everybody being at one?
It starts to roll in real fast. So it's
Okay,
pretty
let
much,
us know when
it
everybody's
counts
in.
it down for them. Yeah, it counts it down for them and they should all be coming on back now. That's it. All the rooms are closed up now. So now everybody's back. All 43 members are back into the big room, sir.
Good, good.
Go ahead, Mr. Figueroa.
Okay, do want to introduce Mr. Rodriguez. I know he kind of came in during our meeting, so thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, our Deputy Superintendent, for joining us. Works very closely with transportation as well. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed what was going on so far. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so after reviewing the video, this is the second time that you folks have had the opportunity to review it. And hopefully after Tuesday, you started to think about, if I was in this situation, how would I handle this? Would I be able to keep my composure? Do I have the kind of relationship with the students that they'd be able to follow my lead? Would they be able to know to keep their composure if I was also keeping mine? So a couple of things you really need to think about as you move forward with this. In our breakout group, the intention behind that was to get you folks talking about ways to deal with this. We're very fortunate that that driver complied with the request of the intruder, and they were able to ultimately get out of the bus safely with their students. Some of the scenarios we also brought up is, I had a couple of aides and Linda, who was a former aide in my group, and we talked about it from the standpoint of an aide. You're not going to be the driver. So as an aide, what is your responsibility on the bus? You know, protect yourself. Great suggestion was maybe try to get the kids to move towards the back of the bus, away from where the action is at. And if the bus is moving, you really can't do much but try to move the kids away from it. But of course, if it becomes to an issue where you're able to kind of come to a stop, kind of have to make that decision. If you feel that your life's in danger, maybe the option is to do an evacuation through that back door. Those are some of the scenarios that we have to really look at. And again, you're looking at your role in the transportation department. If you're a driver, what should I do? What do I need to do or be prepared for? And when we leave this exercise, we want to be able to review this, but you folks also take what you've learned from this and maybe apply how you would respond to something like this. I think it's great dialogue in our group. I guess any of the other leaders, department leaders, you want to talk about what was discussed in your groups?
Mr. Figueroa, in our group, we were the green team with Kendall, Robert, and Olga and Ola. And so Kendall was talking about the situation where the intruder going in the bus and giving the driver the heads up for the calmness that he had with the children. And he put it all in one, where the driver said it all started with the driver being calm in the bus for the situation to happen that way.
That's great, sir. All right. Anyone else? Sonia, how about your group, ma'am?
In our group, we actually discussed that if they were to see somebody with a gun at a bus stop, if they were to stop, and the majority of the drivers agreed that no, we continue going instead of stopping, because let's say we already have a group of students inside the bus. Why are we going to be put more kids in danger when you already saw that the person that's at the bus stop already has a gun? So why even stop? Just go ahead and continue on your run and call it in.
And that's a great recommendation. You save the kids that you can, but you don't want to let the threat come inside. And that's what we teach our teachers. When there is a lockdown situation, you look outside, make sure you can scoop any staff or any students that may be in the hallway near your room, bring them in. However, if that threat is outside immediately, you don't open that door. You protect yourself and the students you currently have. So the one thing that you would do in that case, you would have to call that into dispatch immediately. Now, keep in mind, on your radios, you also have channel 1 that goes directly to our PD, so you could call it in directly to the PD. So there's no one in the middle to make that call. So the recommendation is you go to channel 1, you call the police department, you report where it's at, and then you can always go back to base. Remember, if you feel that your life is in danger, 911 notify the police before you do anything else. Okay. Crystal, how about your group, ma'am? Or Gracie, it's nice to see you up there, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Actually, we have Brenda that in our group that was going to speak for our group. Go ahead, Brenda.
Awesome. Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, well, there were great ideas of what we were talking about. Another one of the great ideas was that you have to have a good relationship with your students. Maybe like have a practice of you have a certain word or sentence. If something comes up and it's strange, you know, or in danger, that student knows to get their cell phones, because a lot of students already have cell phones, to dial 911 or call somebody, you know. So you have to have that communication, like, hey, are you gonna have a hamburger for dinner? And that would be a secret code for that student to dial 911.
That's interesting. That's a great idea. Really good. And I know in my group, I forgot to share, Mr. McKenzie had a great idea. He remembered that when we had the stop arm bus cameras, that there might have been an additional, I don't know if it was an emergency button that he said he remembered, but he really wasn't sure if that was what's active. And I know that the suggestion of, can we have a panic button put on the bus?
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
the steering wheel. Go ahead, Mr. Tamayo.
No, some of those buses have them, they're in the previous, the panic button, where there was an emergency situation, they just push it. So that, yes, that's something we can look into, Mr. Figueroa.
Okay. The other thing that we can do, and we know that, but part of the problem when we have a panic button is we need to make sure it has connectivity back to the base, correct? So we know for a fact that our radios have that. So that may be something to look at to see if we can put a distress signal or something of that nature on, kind of like we have on our handhelds, that orange button. We can maybe look into that with our radio provider. That's a great recommendation by Mr. McKenzie. Hey, who else do we have? We had Crystal and
So
Chrissy.
I was actually, Jennifer was the one that was dealing with or heading the group in the main chat. Jennifer.
I took that group already, Crystal, because it was only
Okay.
4 of them. So I put them in my office so they can be involved with everybody else.
Oh, good. Okay.
I actually had a few people that weren't able to make it into the breakout rooms in the main area. I spoke with Chief Palomo and Jackie about the situation, and I asked what would she as a driver have done if, instead of the hijacker telling everyone to get off the bus, if they would have just tried to force her as the driver off and keep the children on the bus. And she said no way she would have let that person get her off the bus without those kids. She said she would have thrown herself on the floor first. She would have pitched a fit, but there was no way she was leaving those kids behind with the hijacker. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
So did all of our groups get to present, or do we have a group that's still out there?
No, what we did is we were talking about, well, what if the bus driver saw the guy coming and then all of a sudden just closed the door? You know, what would have happened then? Anything could have happened. He could have sprayed the bus with bullets. You know, anything could have happened. Other things were, what was it? The other thing that you mentioned, Ray? You remember? About, okay, how about if you had a whole big bus full of alternative kids, what would their reaction be? You know, would they just sit back and let it go, or would they, you know, you just don't know the type of kids that you have on the bus, what you can do with it. You know, the little ones, the big ones, would they protect you? Some of them would be that way, and they could attack, you know, the driver. I mean, not the driver, but the guy with the gun, and, you know, all hell could have broke loose. But it's something that we really need training on, I think.
So Chrissy, let me ask you. So if to understand how your kids would react to that, how do we get them to trust you as a driver? Now, I know alternative's a little bit trickier because you have those kids for a short period of time.
Right.
You know, and I know we have Olga and we have a couple of other drivers that are used to driving those. because, you know, they're able to establish rapport earlier with the kids.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the little ones. The little ones versus, you know, what type of instruction would you need to provide for the students? And remember, it can't be when it happens. You have to almost rehearse this with the kids. Hey, if we ever have anybody that comes on our bus, this is what I need for you to do. So let me deal with that individual. So
Yeah.
so
And it
that's
would be, yeah, it would be kind of like what we do when we go into all the elementary schools and we teach them bus evacuation. Maybe we could get a little bit more time and go over things like this with them, you know, but we'd have to go over it very delicately because we don't want to scare them and have them crying. And,
correct.
you know, but it's something that we'd have to take maybe their bus drivers in there with us and let them, you know, kind of feel out everything. And just, I think their bus drivers are the ones that are going to have to come with us if we decide to go to each of the elementary schools and do this. I think that would be better.
I think that we also, because, you know, we deal with different ages of kids. So it's important that we get the teachers involved, maybe offer them some lessons that they can work with the students in their classroom.
That is,
you know, because, you know, and then this is your bus driver, these, you know, this is whoever your bus driver is. Sometimes it might be the same driver, sometimes it might be something different. But when we have the beginning of year rules and expectations that the teachers go over with the students, we could probably include a transportation module in there, or maybe a video that you guys can create and say, you know, it's important to follow the directions of your driver, whoever the driver is. And that's something to look forward to, because remember, you've got to teach these kids at their level. And the best ones that know that are the teachers themselves. So we could probably get them involved to help us create some of these lessons. But
that's a great idea.
Great suggestion. Okay. All right. So this is an activity just to get people thinking about this, because it's unfortunate that we have events like this and then we end up, okay, what would we do? I mean, it's unfortunate that these happen, but it's a great opportunity to learn and to go through this with our group and our organization. We are very fortunate to have Chief Palomo here. I do want to turn it over to him and see what he recommends. I think Sergeant Alvarez might also want to say a few words if he's on board. So Chief, you're up, sir.
All right. I dropped in on some of the break rooms, the breakouts, and everybody had some really good feedback. As I mentioned earlier, I think one of the most important things you can do as a driver or as an employee of the school district, you really have to be aware of your surroundings. And we call that situational awareness. You really got to be on the lookout, whether you're at Walmart or HEB or at church, or whether you're driving a bus. If something doesn't feel right, trust your gut instinct. All right. Call the PD and have us investigate. And I would recommend going forward that if you folks aren't doing this now, that you check in with your dispatch periodically to let them know you're okay. And I don't know, do we do that, Mr. Furua or Mr. Tamayo? Do you have your drivers check in to make sure everything's 10-4?
Yes, sir. Yes, we do. They do radio checks. That's part.
How often do you do that?
That's part of their pre-trip inspection and post.
Okay. So that's a good best practice to do. Also, what we do in law enforcement and in the military, we script. We call it mental scripting. What if? Always come up with those what if scenarios. And I know you're busy trying to keep your eyes on the road, the kids, your radio's going off, but it's always a good idea to have a mental plan of what am I going to do if this happens? All right. And I believe I mentioned this earlier, is you don't want to be a hero. Your primary concern is the kiddos and taking care of yourself. And it's going to be very chaotic. These type of events are very dynamic. They happen quick. So you really got to remain calm. And the way you do that is you do combat breathing. You take these deep breaths and just try to relax as much as possible. Remain calm, because the kids are going to react to you. If you're freaking out, they're going to freak out as well. So try to remain calm, cool, and collective, and listen to the suspect, whatever they're telling you. Listen, all right? Don't try to be a hero. Also, I think going forward, we need to develop some plans, just like we do for schools when it comes to lockdown drills. I think we need to have specific plans for our bus drivers. What do you do in the event if this happens, X, Y, Z. And then we practice that. All right. We have practice drills. That's how you're going to really become proficient when something happens. You're going to revert to your training. All right. If you don't have any training right now, you're just going to act on a whim. You're really not going to know what to do. So I think we need some structured, formal training. We'll work with Mr. Figueroa to come up with some training for our bus drivers during the summer. And maybe before school starts, we'll have some training sessions. And that way you'll have some tools for your toolbox. But you guys have a very important job. But the best advice I can give you is just be aware of your surroundings at all times. And if you do that, I think we'll be okay. Don't try to be a hero. Use common sense, because we can't put everything in black and white. All right. So you're going to have to use common sense. And the best thing you can do is remain calm in these type of events. So I really appreciate you folks inviting me over. I appreciate the work you folks do for the district. And I'm always available. If you guys need to reach out to me, just give me an email or call me. Thank you very much for inviting me, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. One of the suggestions that came in was we often allow first responders to train on our grounds, perhaps incorporate them in our trainings. I think that we've asked for volunteers in the past. That's one thing that we might be able to reach out to, not only our own PD, but maybe Bexar County, because they do have to train for hostage situations on something like this. That experience, and I was able to observe that along with our PD on how they train. So, but applying that as a bus driver is going to be different. So we can reach out to the Fusion Center, and we can reach out to other resources to see what recommendations they have. So we can also add that to our toolboxes.
Mr. Figueroa, I'm going to add a little bit to that. Don't forget the past 2 years, Bexar County Sheriff has been doing hostage and hijack situations in our parking lot. And when I met with them, just the recent one, not in the state of Texas, hasn't happened. This is something they started. They're making their Bexar County Sheriff's Office to do is to train in a hijack bus or a hostage situation. And so they're really, really thrilled when they come out here, because they see it in action, and they know this is just a smaller classroom in a tight squeeze where they have to handle situations like this.
Mr. Figueroa, I wanted to
sir.
say something to the response to Mr. Palomo. And in addition, now we have a tool here at Transportation, which is our GPS, that helps us, track our drivers as far as how, when they're down for a long period of time, our dispatch knows to call it in and say, hey, is everything okay? So that's another tool that our district has implemented in our department, which is a big tool, a big asset for us.
That's great. The more tools we have, the better off we're going to be.
Good. That's a great idea, bringing that up, Grace. So we did talk about that in the event that there was an issue, and they saw that you were an issue, that we could, if the dispatch saw that there was an issue, they would immediately notify PD as well to help investigate. So that came up in our group. Great thinking of that, Gracie. Sergeant Alvarez, anything to add on your part, sir?
Well, in our group, we basically touched on everything that Chief Palomo went over: situational awareness, staying calm, not trying to fight the intruder. Once he's on the bus, he's on the bus, things of that nature. Really, really honed in on the situational awareness part, because I believe that's very, very critical. One of our drivers mentioned that at nighttime it's very dark. Sometimes it's hard, not that it's hard to see, but if he's rolling up to a stop and it's dark and he sees something unusual, then we tell him, of course, report it. And if he sees a man with a gun, of course, don't stop or anything, things of that nature. But it all goes back to situational awareness. Just don't get in your bus, do your check. Let's go. Let's get the kids. Let's get in that bus. As you roll up as you're rolling around, keep your head on a swivel. Look around. Something's out of place. So something's not right. Call it in. Just always. Just again, we have that old phrase in law enforcement: keep your head on a swivel. Always keep looking around. Always be aware of your surroundings. And we really pretty much honed in on that one in our group.
I know that what Olga brought up the other day was, we need face-to-face training. Virtual is good to a point, and you are right. As Chief said, you can put it on paper, you can discuss it. This all helps because remember, just not what we do physically comes into play. It's the mental. If you can visualize and think about an incident before it happens, you're better prepared. Kind of like what the athletes do. They visualize, the top athletes, something happening. They prepare not only physically, but mentally. So if you can anticipate an issue happening, and I know how I'm going to handle this, you're better equipped. So as things open up for our district in terms of face-to-face trainings, we're definitely going to bring back some more trainings. We could perhaps incorporate some outdoor training since that's a little bit easier now with the social distancing piece down to 3 feet. So that's one thing that I know that we're gonna incorporate as we move forward. It's just been unfortunate that we've had the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is, and in talking with other transportation departments throughout the city and throughout Bexar County, we're one of the few that are using this platform to not only train our teachers, but since the beginning, this group has been in the forefront of providing training to keep you guys engaged, to keep you informed because of the pandemic. So kudos to you folks that have been participating in the training, and gratitude goes out to our leadership, to our trainers for providing this, because this has been tough for everybody, but you guys have continued to move forward with the training that's needed for your department as best we can. So that's the piece that I have, Mr. Tamayo. I don't know if you folks want to kind of close it and talk about anything, but I've jotted down notes, and I know leadership has also jotted down notes and recommendations that what we can look for as we move forward, moving into the summer and next year. Thank you folks for joining us. Mr. Tamayo?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Figueroa. Thank you, Sergeant Alvarez, and thank you, Chief, for joining our Zoom session. I think that was really helpful for our drivers. And like I said, I know when the Bexar County Sheriffs were doing their training out there, they've been keeping up. It hasn't happened in Texas. They were not aware of any situations like that happening in Texas, but yeah, it happens in other states. And so all they're doing is preparing for a situation if it does happen. So thank you for this good safety meeting that we had with the hijack bus. And so it's like everybody, the officers say, always be aware of your situations and be aware of your areas and what's going on. And so I thank everybody for joining this meeting. And
so before we leave, because it sounds like you want to wrap it up. So before we
Yep.
leave, I wanted to, we did have part of our presentation was that we did want to, Chief Palomo was almost as if he read our mind. We did want to do discuss the technique of keeping calm during a difficult situation. So we did want to practice that right before we got off on the meeting. Is that okay, Mr. Tamayo?
go ahead, Crystal.
Great idea,
Okay.
Crystal.
Here we go.
Hey guys, Geshav here from Revolution Hive. We all face different pressures in life that require us to stay calm and focused. Our close loved ones might get really sick. We might lose a ton of money in the stock market. We might injure ourselves physically or mentally. And the thing is, these things are going to happen. But what matters isn't what happens to you, but how you choose to recover and respond in those moments. These things are pretty normal, but today I want to talk about how do people in extreme pressure situations where it's literally life and death react and deal with pressure to stay focused. Today I'm going to share a technique used by Navy SEALs that helps them to stay calm and focused no matter what the crazy situation they may find themselves in. It's what's known as box breathing. Now, obviously, most of us aren't going to be in situations where there's bullets flying around all over the place. You're in the middle of a war zone and there's soldiers fighting around you, but you can use this powerful technique to make sure you stay focused on things like revision when you've got distractions around you, or parents are arguing in the background, or you're in a high pressure environment or situation over and over again at work, or in your relationship there's arguments over and over again and you need to stay calm and focused. And the great thing is this only takes a few minutes to use and understand. And the benefits you'll experience are fairly instant relaxation and focus. So let me get into it. Here's how to do it. You start by preparing yourself by taking a deep breath into your nose. Focus on breathing into your stomach and then fully just exhale all of the air out, force all the air out of your body, and do this about 2 or 3 more times before moving on to the next step. Now what you do is simple. You focus on breathing in deep for 4 seconds, then you hold for 4 seconds, then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold that for another 4 seconds. And what I love about box breathing is it's really easy to use and remember, but don't let the simplicity of it fool you either. Let's look at the science. So by breathing in through your nose, what you're actually doing is increasing the nitric oxide levels in your bloodstream. And what happens is this increases your blood flow and lowers the blood pressure. And if you want to compound the effect of this even more, another little hack is you can hum while you're exhaling. There was a study done in 2002 by Eddie Weitzberg and John Lundberg that showed humming oscillates the air while you're breathing, which greatly increases the level of nitric oxide released into your bloodstream. So as you can see, there's a lot of power to learning how to breathe properly. And it's funny because we never really take the time to learn or teach this. I hope you guys use this technique and let me know the results you get in the comments below. And as always, just keep breathing deep. It's those simple truths again and again that are the most powerful. There's nothing magical or secret to it. And until then, I'll see you in tomorrow's daily video. Peace.
Thank you, Crystal. That was a very nice video. That one more person I forgot to thank is Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, I didn't forget about you. So thank you for joining our Zoom meeting, and thank you for everything you do for us.
Thank you, Mr. Tamaya. And I just want to add that, you know, whether you're in combat or if you're a supervisor or whatever job title you may have, you have to be calm and you have to be aware that if you're in a situation, you need to have calmness and maturity enough that people understand that you're trying to help. But the main thing is to stay calm. And those of you that have been in tight situations, you understand that breathing, you do it and you don't even know that you're doing it sometimes. Whether, you know, you're out there working in bus accidents, whether you're in combat or whether you're engaging in trying to break up a fight or anything. So thank you for inviting me, and it was very interesting. And I've learned something today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, and thank you, everybody. It is, I have 11:58 on the clock, so we were on the clock for 1 whole hour, and thank you for joining the meeting.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is our last meeting for this year, and so thank you so much. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you all
guys.
this afternoon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. I just didn't want y'all to be outside. There was nobody.